Hey guys, what is up? I am back with another video today. If you're new here, my name is James. I like to talk about web development on this particular YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about using automatic CSS with Etch. So I've been using Etch for quite a while, but I've only recently started using automatic CSS. So it's been kind of a long time coming, and I've been dragging my feet, and I finally decided to jump in. And I've only scratched the surface of what ACSS can do, but it's already like basically changed my life. I don't want to be, super dramatic, but I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, I've hardly even scratched the surface yet. So I'm just sitting on the tip of this iceberg and I'm enjoying the view, man. It's just it's saving me quite a bit of time. And it's making it easier to make a website that looks good and is consistent and matches the design. It is called Automatic CSS for a reason. It does do a lot of things automatically for you, which is nice. And then it's fully customizable, so you can do whatever you want with it, really. If you want to override whatever automatic stuff it's doing, you can do that. But it makes a lot of things like grid layouts and cards just super easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to build a landing page using automatic CSS and Etch. And I've already built this landing page once, and so it's somewhat fresh-ish in my mind. So I'm hoping that this will go pretty well. You may watch me struggle a little bit to remember how certain things work here and there, but I also have a copy of the website open on my other monitor as a reference. So my goal with this video is, I know I like to let you guys watch me struggle, but I want to try to not to struggle too much on this video. I just kind of want to show you what ACSS can do and how it can help you, even if you, like me, are not a super advanced CSS wizard. Like, if you're like me, you've watched a bunch of Kevin Geary's videos and you watch what he does with ACSS and you're just kind of like, wow, that's really cool. It's really fast, but it looks kind of complicated and it's just a lot to try to remember or whatever. And it's easy to watch him work and get overwhelmed. But I'm here to show you that you actually don't need to be an advanced CSS wizard to get a lot of value out of automatic CSS. Okay, so if that's you and you've watched his videos and you've thought, I'm not going to get it because I'm not advanced enough to use it, please watch this video, give it a shot, and then make a judgment call after watching this video and watching me do some things with it that are really not that complicated. They're not advanced CSS things. Hopefully you'll maybe consider giving ACSS a try, because if you do, it will make your life easier, I promise. So let's click this button here. So this is what I'm going to be building. This site is entirely generated by AI, the layout and the copy. This photo is real. Everything else is just AI. So don't judge. I know it's crap, but this is what we're going to work with. We're just going to rebuild this. So we hop over here to Etch. You'll see I already have all this stuff in here. And what I'm going to do, and this is going to hurt, but I'm deleting it. It's gone. It's all gone. I'm going to go to my style manager, delete everything here, which is a lot, apparently. Wow. Hopefully, Auphonic can do something about all these clicks. I did not expect there to be this many. Apologies for this. We'll get there. We're almost there. Okay, here we go. Woo. And I'll go to my style sheet and I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. Boom. Do I have any variables? I do not. All right. Fresh start. Now, there's still some stuff in ACSS, which is fine because I didn't do a lot of setup in ACSS, at least nothing complicated. So I will show you what I've already done. Oh, sorry, I'm so thirsty today. So one of the first things, and Kevin will tell you this too, you don't have to come into ACSS and like do a whole bunch of setup work. You basically set things up as you need them. So one thing that most people do when they start a website project is they at least kind of get their colors figured out, right? So that's what I'm going to do. So if we go to palette, you can see here that we have several colors set up. And you can choose which ones you want. Like, you don't have to use them all. So again, if you're looking at this and you're like overwhelmed already, calm down. Technically you don't have to even use any of these. They just make your life a lot easier. But a lot of people will just use like a primary and a secondary. Maybe primary, secondary, and an accent. Whatever you want to do. You can use as many of these as you want. You can see I'm not using tertiary. I personally don't really know what the difference is between base and neutral. So I just put colors there. This is mostly for text and backgrounds. But yeah, you can click on it to choose a color with the color picker, or you can type in a hex value or an HSL value. And the cool thing about this, one of the reasons this is called Automatic CSS, something that this automatically does is it creates some extra variables based on these colors. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, let me show you. We drop a piece of text here, and I'm just going to give this the class of heading, whatever, just for now. If I say color primary, it always does that. Primary, you can see my text color is this bluish primary color. Okay. But what it also does, which isn't exactly clear, like looking at these colors right here, you don't really know this is happening, is if you go to, where did my class go? Am I crazy? Oh, I put it on the container. Dummy. All right, let's get rid of that and let's do this the right way. Hey, if I go like this and I say dash light, you'll notice my text is the same color, but it's a much lighter hue, right? And we can do ultra light and it's super light. And of course, we can also do primary ultra dark, and that's the same blue color, just a really, really dark hue. And we can go just dark, and we can go, what is it? That's going to bother me. I'm blanking out. There's another between, dark, semi. We can do semi-dark. So there's primary semi-dark, primary dark, primary ultra dark, and there's primary semi-light, primary light, primary ultra light. And that applies to all of these. You can do that with secondary, tertiary, accent, base, neutral. And it's these colors right here, actually. So if you expand on these, you'll see what you're going to get. Hover over this, you got medium. So this would just be the regular color. So this would be primary. This is primary semi-dark, primary dark, ultra dark. I don't know what this is. Oh, this is the hover color. And then go this way, you have semi-light, light, and ultra light. So it does this for all these colors. So that's just really handy. You don't have to do that. All you did was pick primary color, secondary color, and then it automatically generates all of those different shades for you. So that's very handy if you want to make like a button and you want the hover color to be same color but slightly different, so you can kind of get that little hover effect. This is great for doing that. So that's the first thing I do is come in here and set up my colors, right? And then we might set up some other stuff. There's one thing I'm going to delete, which is everything in here. In fact, you can click that to just go back to default there. Click save, get out of it. All right. So let's go ahead and start building something. First of all, let's get rid of this. And I'm even going to go and just delete that class real quick so it doesn't mess with us later. So we got a section container. And just to remind you, this is what we're going to build, this little section here. So we need a column here and a column there. So I'm thinking grid, right? So inside our container, let's do flex div. I'm actually going to change this to a figure because all it's going to be in the left column is an image. That's it. Over here, we're going to have a heading. We're going to have some text, and then we're going to have 2 buttons. So we'll do a flex div and then link. All right. And that should be all we need. So I'm going to call this hero section, hero image, hero content. Kind of bad at naming stuff. Hero heading, hero text. What is this? This is, I'm going to say CTAs or CTA wrapper. CTA wrapper. Yeah. We'll probably want to give these because they look different. Oh no, we'll handle that. Yeah, we'll handle that with the button classes. So that's all the content we need. So let's go ahead and get some classes on these bad boys. Now, here's the first thing that's going to make you go, wow, I love Automatic CSS. I mentioned that we're going to do a grid here, right? So let's come here to this container and let's say display grid, of course. And then we would normally say grid template columns, and I would do like repeat 2, 1 fbar. And that works. But then, you got to go and do a media query or a container query to make it look good. Or you just do that. And then look at that. Like really? It just works. It's a 2-column grid. On mobile, it's a 1-column grid. Okay. That's handy. And of course, it works with any number. We could do a 3-column grid if we wanted to. There's not 3 bits of content. Let's just go ahead and add another one of these just for funsies. There you go. 3 columns, and it automatically goes down to 2 and then 1. I mean, that right there was the first thing that made me go, wow, I really like Automatic CSS, right? And there's already a gap in there. There's a gap in here. I think, that might actually just be coming from Etch, from the fact that this is a flex div. But they put the gap in the middle, so we don't have to mess with that. We could override it if we want to, but you know what? It's close enough. Maybe this gap is a little bigger, so that's something we could possibly look into later, or we could also not care. Depends on what you're doing. If you're building a site for a client who you think is going to be very pixel perfect, then yeah, let's go in and update this gap. But for me, that gap is good enough. Some more fun stuff that it'll do. Let's go to this figure and say border radius. And I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to say radius. And I'm going to say, that's not enough. Let's do large. Still not enough. Extra large. Let's go ahead and add an overflow hidden so that border radius actually works. And yeah, I might go even one more. I think double XL is as big as it goes. Yeah. But look at that. Once again, I don't even know what this actual border radius value is. I don't care, really. I just want to make it match. So this looks like a pretty big old radius. So I'm going to just use the XXL. And again, if we wanted to be more, we could go in here and we could, let's see, where would that be? Probably in layout. Nope. I've seen it borders and dividers. Borders. Border radius, 5 pixels. Let's do 10. So that's the base. And then you have large, extra, extra large, right? And so it's all based on whatever value that you put in here. So I'm going to put it at maybe 7 because this does look like kind of a big old fat radius. So yeah, we'll do that. So we'll make the base 7. I'm using extra large. There we go. That's our border radius. I mean, stuff like this is just, and now I never have to think about it again. It doesn't matter to me that the base border radius is 7 pixels, whatever. I don't care. Whenever I need a border radius, I'm just going to type radius and I'm going to go, that's not quite enough. How about large? No, maybe a little bit larger. Extra large. And I'm just going to pick the one that looks exactly like I want. And I don't care about what the actual value is. It's not something I have to remember. I don't have to go, oh, what am I doing for border radius? Was it 10 pixels? I can't remember. And then I got to go click on another element. Oh yeah, it was 10 pixels. I don't have to do that. I could just say, if I'm looking at my design and I'm thinking, yeah, all my other border radiuses are not that big. So I think I'm going to stick with what I've done because this border radius is pretty big. So I'm going to leave that as XXL. And then probably for all these other ones, I'm just going to go probably just large for all my cards. I could even say, you know what, since that's the most common one, maybe I want to come in here and I want to say, let's put this just to regular radius. So not big enough. And let's just say, what does it look like at 10? Is that big enough? Maybe. We could probably actually just inspect this and find out exactly what we want. Border radius is 0.75 rem. Okay, that's not helpful. But you can use rem values here. So we can make this the basic so I don't have to think about it. I can just type radius for every one of these cards now. Later, when I get to that point, I'm just going to type radius. So I don't even have to remember, was it large, extra large, extra large? No, it's just radius. Since this is the most commonly used border radius, you can see I'm going to use it a lot of times. So I'll make that my regular border radius. And then for this particular thing, since it's a bigger, fatter radius, I will bump it up this one time. So border radius large or extra large, I think just large. So, I mean, that to me, I love little things like that because I just set this once just now, and now I don't ever really have to think about radius ever again. I'm just going to type radius. And in fact, if I'm building cards, I might not even have to do that. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get to building those cards. Let's go ahead and just start putting in some. Oops. You didn't see that. You did not see that. Here we go. This is what I wanted. And then this button says, let's work here. This one says, click me. Really? That's what it says? What is our actual? Yeah, I thought that's what I thought. Learn more about me. I never updated that on my other example. Learn more about me. All right, buttons. Buttons are another thing that Automatic CSS makes easy. I think what I want to do here. How did I do it over here? Huh. I wonder why it looks. Oh, well, probably would help to actually have image in there. Border radius overflow hidden. Align item center. Okay, that's what I was missing. All right, moving on. Buttons. Buttons are cool. Buttons are very cool in Automatic CSS. So first I'm going to just handle this wrapper and make it a flex div. Probably already a flex div, so I'll just say flex direction row, and we'll do a gap of whatever. And then for the buttons themselves, now you don't use a lot of utility classes with Automatic CSS. In fact, there's a thread in the private group talking about possibly getting rid of some of them because the intended workflow is to mostly use variables. But there are, of course, times where utility classes make sense. And this is one of those times. I'm going to go over here to this first button, and I'm going to give it the class of btn -- primary. And look at that. 'Tis already a button. Now, I don't like that border radius, but we'll fix that. This one is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to still give it the class of btn-s primary. Okay, but I'm also going to give it the class of btn-outline. And look at that. It's the right color, and it's an outline version instead of the regular solid version. And look, they already have hover states, so I didn't even have to do that. It's just amazing. And the border radiuses can be fixed by going to the buttons. There's a specific section for buttons, and I want to say it's probably not here. These are all colors. Is it global that we want? Probably. Border radius. Radius L. Nope, we don't want that. Let's try just regular radius. Sometimes you have to refresh or at least save. Nope, I'm going to say, let's see, I think just radius is medium, right? I don't think that's a thing. -M. Yeah, let's do dash. Is it S or SM? Okay, it's S. So that I think is the radius I'm looking for. And I'm done. I'm done with the buttons, dude. I'm done. Moving on. I didn't have to do all this extra styling to get the solid button versus the outline button. I didn't have to do the hover states. The border radius was easy. Again, I didn't need to have to remember anything. I just typed things here until it looked good. I started with regular radius, and I thought, nope, that's a little too much radius. So I bumped it down to -S, and there we go. Moving on to the next section. And let's actually get my heading in there too, because we're going to do, I'm actually going to, well, I don't think I'm going to turn this into a component like I did on the real site, because that's not the point of this video. We're trying to look at how cool Automatic CSS is. So probably what I'm just going to do is go ahead and say, hello, I'm James, and I'm going to go over here. I don't know why it's doing that. And I'm going to add a span here. And I want to say, I think all I did was I just gave it the class of accent. And then, whoops, why is that there? Is that actually, that might actually be one of Automatic CSS's utility classes, because you saw me earlier delete all my classes. So that's not something I did. That must be Automatic CSS thing. But you can see what it did is it added the color variable accent, which you saw earlier in my palette right here, accent. So that's pretty neat. And now, because this is a recurring theme, they do it in like every heading. So I can just give this word a span with the class of accent, and it will be that color. And if later I want to change what that accent color is, all I have to do is change it here, and it'll change everywhere. So pretty slick. Why is my phone blown up? Everybody needs to leave me alone. So next section is the what I build section. So in fact, since I forgot how easy it is to just copy and paste things, I am going to go ahead and copy my heading component. So I won't go through the process of building out the whole thing, but I can at least show you the coolness of how it works. So I'm going to delete my heading here and Control V, bring this up here. And here we go. We're going to edit this component. Props.alignment. So you can see we created some props over here. Alignment, show lead, blah, 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 blah. We're going to just save and exit, and we're going to put our data right here, which we've already done because I copied this over from the other site. And let's look at the front end. So there it is. It's not rendering in the builder at the moment. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe if I just refresh. Okay. Sometimes you just got to refresh the builder to get it to show up. Also, I can delete this text because that's part of the component. So this component is pretty neat. Like I said, you don't have to watch me build the whole thing, but I'll just kind of walk you through what it's doing. There's just a heading and some text. I don't even know what this condition is. I think it's it's just whether to show it or not, because not every heading will have text underneath it. Some headings will just be a heading. So if you don't want to show text, just click no, right here, show lead, turn that off, right? Alignment, we're going to do center for this one if you want, which I don't think we want. I think we want left aligned, but just to show you how easy that is, we can change the alignment here very easily. And then we just type in the text for the first part that's black. We type in the accent part here and the text there, and it just does it. And we're going to reuse this component in the next section. So let's go ahead and add a section. And inside here, I'm just going to drop in our component, which is called heading component. And we'll click on it so we can do stuff. We're going to say what I build. And there is some text. Put that right there. Oh, no, it's doing that. Let's just grab it from here. Boom. We do want to show it. We want the alignment for this one to be center. So you can see the power of components. I know that's not the point of this video, but you can see the power of components, how quickly I was able to add that and even have each instance of the component look a little bit different. Like if I don't want this text to show up, boom, it's gone, right? It's the same exact component. And then I have a little UI here to make some changes to it. So love components. You got to learn how to do components. I've made videos about components. Kevin's made videos about components. If you're using Etch, you got to learn components because it will save you time, I promise. All right, so the next thing is a grid, and we're going to use our friend AutoGrid again, I believe, for this section. It's a 2-column grid again. So let's build these cards and build a grid. So I'm going to say, let's see, we got our container already, and then we got our heading, and I'm going to drop in a div, and we're going to call this skills grid. And inside this is going to be a flex div, and inside the flex div is going to be icon, and I'm actually going to pull in another component from my other example website because I'm a cheater face. Cheater McCheater face. After that is a heading. After the heading is some text. All right, and we're going to call this, we already called it skills grid. We're going to call this skill card. And then we're going to we're just going to call this text. Text is fine. I don't like naming stuff, y'all. I might call this skill heading and skill text instead of just heading and text. Because what I've noticed is if you just call it heading, it will give it the same class as every other heading in this section. Even if you have like a main heading up here and you just name this heading, and you name this heading, it'll give them the same class. And you likely don't want to style this heading in the same exact way that you're styling these headings. So you got to name it something different. And in this case, it doesn't matter because I'm using a component for the heading, but if I wasn't, it would matter. So I'm just going to call it skill heading, skill text. That way, when I do auto BEM, it will give these specific classes that won't conflict with another general class just called heading or whatever. Anywho, enough rambling. We got all the stuff in here we need. Icon, heading, text. So let's go ahead and rename this to, I think I'm just going to call it skills section. And then we're going to auto BEM. And again, I don't know why Okay. Oh, because it put it all, I accidentally put the stuff inside the slot of this icon wrapper, which is not what I wanted to do. There we go. Now it's showing. Okay. Did it bem it? It did not bem it because okay. What happens if I click this again? Does it work? It does. It did auto bem. All right, cool. So let's first of all click on this icon wrapper and we're going to change the radius to just radius. And yeah, I actually think that's pretty cool. So just again, components, awesome, right? Because I could add this same thing somewhere else and maybe leave a big fat radius on it so it's a circle, right? I can also change the color. Maybe I want to use secondary. Now it's red. Same component, different color, right? Amazing. Put that back to primary. So let's see. Should this heading be a H2? Probably not, because you would think this would probably be the H1, even though it's kind of a dumb title for a whole page. But if the page is about me, I suppose it makes sense that the H1 would at least have my name in it. So maybe it's not the worst H1 ever, but then this would probably be an H2. So this would probably be an H3. And this first one is going to say product. I thought I could actually edit the text right here, but I guess I'll come down here. Product, photo typing. Why is it highlighting everything in gray? VPs. Again, I did not write this copy. Okay. AI wrote this copy. No judging, please. There we go. Now you're about to see some cool card magic with Automatic CSS. One of the other things that make me just like everything you're going to see in this video, even though I said I'm just scratching the surface, everything you're going to see in this video, if that's all Automatic CSS was, I think I would still buy it. That's how much I love what you saw with the buttons, how easy buttons were, how easy auto grid is. I love the auto grid. And what you're about to see with cards, I just love it. Let's duplicate this card a few times. So we got 4 of them, and I'm not going to bother changing the content because again, that's not the point of this video. I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to say display grid and grid template columns auto grid 2. Did that not work? Bar auto. Oh, it's grid auto, not auto grid, which is annoying if you ask me, because when they refer to it in videos, I'm pretty sure I've heard Kevin say auto grid, but the variable is grid auto, whatever. I'm not going to get too nitpicky. So auto grid, you've already seen that. That's not where the magic is. Here's where the magic is. Okay. First of all, I'm just going to come over to Automatic CSS, go to cards, make sure card framework is turned on. And there's a couple things we can do. One thing I actually just learned today was if you can go to options and automatically style cards and save. Please do something. Refresh. Okay. In the video that I watched, I thought the guy said that, oh, maybe I haven't actually done any styling. Border width, radius. Let's see. Interesting. I thought that it would automatically style anything that had card in the class name. Maybe I'm wrong. Here's how I did it when I built my site. Let's forget what that video said. Turn that off. Go down here, paste that in. Okay, there we go. Now we got some automatic styling going on. I'm going to go to borders, bring the radius down to just radius. That looks better. But already, like, we already have nice looking cards. They got a little border on them. They got a border radius. You saw they automatically got some padding. There's some auto spacing going on. Okay. Just like that. Now, I thought that should happen if I turned on automatically style cards. I must have missed something. I'm doing something wrong. But anyways, what I did worked, where all you have to do is put the class of your cards in here, and it will automatically do all this stuff to anything that has this class. And you can add multiple classes here, of course, which we will do, and you just comma separate them. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to do more fancy stuff to these cards later on hover. But I want to show you, I just want to show you a little bit more building of the layout here before I do that. So let's go ahead and add another section. You can see how fast I'm going here and how it's also just already responsive. Like, let's go look at the front end. We've already got our content width, which we can adjust if we don't like this content width, right? And we go down to mobile and it's boom. We got our gutter and everything. And it's already mobile responsive. I didn't have to put any effort into making this mobile responsive. I mean, and if I wasn't sitting here explaining this to you, like how much faster would I would be done already. If I was just going through it, boom, 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 I'd be done with this whole landing page. But even with explaining it, I think you'll see that I'm moving pretty fast. I got these 2 sections done. I would just have to replace the content with real content and moving on. So next section is called projects. See, we just do, projects. So let's just call this projects section. Inside the project section, we have another grid, of some cards. These cards are a little different. I also just realized that I did not build that little icon into my other version. I also didn't do a bunch of these because I'm not 100% sure when I make this website real exactly how this is going to look. So, but we will add at least one so you can see that. So let's go ahead and drop our heading component in here. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. We're going to say featured. We're going to say project. And put our lead text in there. This one is center aligned. Donezo. We'll add a grid. I'm going to call this projects grid. Okay, and then inside again, we're just going to build card. I'll call this card. And inside each card, we just have a heading, some text, and then those little buttons. I'm just going to add one for now. All right. Project card heading. Text and project card. Auto bem. This should be an H3 and then we're going to grab this card class right here. And I don't want to sit here and style these cards for the next 30 minutes. So I'm just going to go to ACSS, card framework, comma, paste that in. There are some settings that need to be fixed before trying to save. Okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong, you guys? Did you see what I did wrong? These are supposed to be comma separated, right? Yeah. Expecting a success status from the call, but got this instead undefined. Did it do that thing where it just logs you out of WordPress for no reason while you're working in WordPress? So it did. Man, I hate that. I hate that so much, dude. You're just sitting there literally working. It's not like I walked away for 30 minutes. Like I'm working and I just get logged out and I have to log back in. It's so annoying. What was I doing? Homepage, edit with Etch. Okay, card. So I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing it right. So we'll go ahead and do this again. And I have to add the section again, dude. Oh, wow. Luckily this is fast. Oh my gosh, that was dumb. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to copy from my other site because you guys already saw me do all that. All right, and then I just got to grab this card class, put that into our, what is it called? Card framework in the targeted section. Save. There we go. We got cards. We do need to we're going to give container, projects, grid template columns, auto 2, save, refresh the builder. Who wants to take a stab at guessing why this isn't working? Huh. Well, that's odd. That is very odd. Why would it be doing that? Let's look at the front end. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to just copy from my other site. What do we got here? We got display grid is being overridden for some reason. By what? Display flex also seems to be being overridden. Card display flex. Okay. Why is the card framework giving this a display of flex? Why is it doing that? Skills grid. So all this stuff is coming from, did I not? It's coming from, the variable is card display. Dot projects section skills grid. Huh. That's weird. That is very weird. I don't know why it's doing that. Even saying important doesn't fix it. That's crazy. That is crazy. Huh. Okay then. What if I just give this a different class? There we go. Something about that particular class. Wait, did I? Oh, I'm an idiot. I put the wrong class in here. That's why. It was trying to turn the entire grid into a card because I'm dumb. I'm dumb. All right, so card. All right, I told you my goal was to not struggle, and I failed. Failed at that goal. Here we go. This looks better already. Okay. And projects grid. Okay. Woo-wee. It does help to not be an idiot. All right, let's look at this since I copied it so you didn't get to watch me build it. Let's just take a quick look at it. All it is, y'all, is a text that I styled myself. Now, I probably could have, let's look at some of this stuff. Yeah, we gave it an align self, border radius, da. Let's get rid of that and say, let's give it a class of BTN primary, first of all. So there's a button, and we can just do something here like border radius extra large, just to make it, yeah. So I think the reason I styled it like myself was so I could take out some of this extra padding and stuff. It just seemed easier than making it a button. But if we look at the button framework here, I don't think they call it that, but I'm going to call it that. Global block padding is just, there's probably a variable for that. And one thing that I haven't shown you yet is this cheat sheet. Click on this and you can see a whole bunch of cool stuff. Layout, I'm going to go find the button section. Button link. That's not what we want. Border, text column, blah, blah. Okay, is there not just a buttons section? Did I miss it? Maybe it's just under layout. Spacing, padding. Okay, so we could do, let's try padding block, padding extra small. There we go. That was easier. You saw how much CSS I had before. In fact, I can show you by pulling out my other version. Da-da-da. I am struggling here. Okay. I had all of this in here, and I was able to replace it with this just by giving it this utility class of btn-s primary. Then all I had to do was modify the border radius a little bit, modify the padding a little bit, and there we go. That replaced all of this stuff. So, neato. And everything else looks good. Don't really have to do anything. Next section. And this is where we're going to see that component, a couple components in here. Yeah, it's going to be a good section. We're going to like this. Let's get out of here, add a section. We'll call this one about section. Nope. And what do we have here? This is a little bit more. So we got two columns. And then over here we have heading, text. Let's do that real quick. So in here we'll do flexitive. In here we'll do our heading component. And then text. Over here, we're going to have a little heading and then card. Inside that card, This one's a little bit more in bold. Inside that card, we're going to have our icon. Just call this about card so I don't get lost. We'll do our icon component. And then next to that, we're going to have a div, which will be just kind of our about card content. Inside that is just a heading and a text. Boom, boom. Okay. I think that's it. I'm going to call this I'm actually going to call this text because I need to name it something different than the other text. Well, no, that's about card text. Let's just call this about text. All right, we got our heading already, our text, blah, blah, blah. Calling it the about section. What is this? I'm going to call this, I don't know, about left. About right. Not clever, I know. Autobam. All right, what's the first thing we need to do? We're going to give the container a yeah, the container is display grid, and we're going to use our fancy auto grid again to give us our two columns. Our heading component, this is where our component is going to come in handy because we're going to say built on experience, and we're not going to display any lead text for this, and we're going to do left alignment, and then we're going to I'm just going to do one of these and duplicate it. Don't care. Okay, and this heading is going to be small. So let's see. We did I think this should be an H3. And then this is going to be an H4. Okay. This icon, we need to add the actual icon to it. So let's grab this. There we go. We got an icon in there. We need to make this card. I think a display flex will probably do it. Probably already flexed, so flex direction row. There we go. Let's get some actual text in here. Okay. And then this is a card. So let's grab this class here and hop on over to our card framework and add it here, comma, and paste. So now this should turn into a card. There it is. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's see here. I'm going to duplicate that card now. Put this card, duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. All right. I think we want to do no, we do not want to do that. That's good, actually. Oh, and this needs to say approach and principles. Bam. Save. Check it out. Look at that. I probably want to take some of this space out. In fact, I did I did on my other site, and let's see. Let's make sure we try to do it the proper way. We added a gap to the card content. Oh, yes. That would be this. And we actually took the gap out completely because I realized just now that we used a variable that doesn't exist. So we can try to use a variable that actually exists. And I feel like that's actually kind of too much gap still. Like we just want a little bit. So maybe honestly, just 0, 10 pixels. There's got to be some little gap in there, right? Is that doing anything? Save. Take a look. Yeah, that looks a lot better. There's way too much space in there. Now let's do some fancy, I think. Yeah, the next section is just more, it's a little more complicated. And it's not really going to show you anything new. It's just going to be more of you sitting there watching me do some of the same stuff you've already seen me do. So I'm going to just copy it, dump it in here, just so we have it. But I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me build this particular one. Okay. Uh-oh. Did I do something bad? Yes, I think I did. Did it paste it inside? There we go. So there's the section. So, you know, obviously we used our heading component again. We did a grid here. This one I did not do auto grid because I wanted a little bit more control. I used a container query actually, so that's fun. And I made, I left the default 1 column, and then I had this say if the container that it's in is larger than this size, then it becomes a 3-column grid. Okay, so it's 1 column, and then at some point, because I didn't want it to break into 2 columns, and that would look really dumb having like 2 of these in 1 column and 1 of them in the next column. So I just wanted it to be 3 or 1. So that's why I didn't use auto grid on this one, right? I just did a little container query and I called it good. Otherwise, everything else in here, none of it is special. But what I want to show you is it's time to add some hover effects, okay? So you can see I'm not going to do exactly the same hover effects as what we have here, but I'm going to show you a really cool, easy way to do hover effects, because you might be tempted to go to the card section. And what I'm a little surprised about is the fact that there aren't things in this section like box shadow, or I guess there is border. So what I did on my other site is I used a fancy little thing that Kevin Geary told me about in one of the private groups. And I'm going to show it to you here and then kind of explain it. Let's copy all this. And you'll notice in ACSS, there's this global SCSS. So if you're not familiar with that, it's called SAS. And they call it SAS. There's actually 2 kinds of SAS. There's SASS, SAS, and there's SCSS, which people still call SAS sometimes. So somebody says SAS, you don't really know which one of these 2 they're talking about, but I think a lot of people, myself included, just go ahead and say SCSS, even though it's annoying to say all those syllables, because if you just say SAS, you don't really know what you're talking about. Anyways, all that to say, ACSS uses SCSS, which is just fancy CSS, basically. And it allows you to do things like this. It just did something dumb. I'm gonna undo that. Goodness gracious, y'all. Goodness gracious. This is why you save, all right? We got that in there. Save. Dummy. All right. So we're going to go back to our global CSS section, and I'm going to show you the fancy trick, right? So Kevin shared this code with me, minus all of this. We'll take that out. So he said, I was asking questions like, is there an easy way to kind of do something like add some custom CSS to all of my cards? Because we have that card framework, but as you saw, there isn't anything in there for like a box shadow. So how would I add a box shadow to all my cards without, just going into my style sheet and adding all the classes? So he said, just do this, drop this in your global SCSS, and then whatever you put in here is going to apply to everything in here. So you've already done the work of adding these classes here, which adds all of this styling to all of those cards. So if you want to do some more fancy CSS that isn't available in here, all you have to do is add this into your SCSS, and whatever I put in here is going to apply to all those card classes. So I'm going to put my code back in there. And all it is just simple SCSS syntax nesting here, right? And I did hover. So when I hover over any of those card classes, it's going to do this border color. It's going to do this box shadow. And then if it has an icon inside of it with this class icon wrapper, it will make that icon grow just a smidgen. So let's save that. So the cool thing about this is I put this in here, and now if I go back and I add more cards, as long as I add those card classes to here, which I would, because I want all these styles to take effect, all that CSS you just saw right here will automatically take effect as well on any new cards I create. Hence the name AutomaticCSS. So let's save this and take a look. Okay, it's not working. It's working in the builder. Oh, wait, save? Yeah, it turns out it helps to actually save your work. Look at that, cards, hover. You see they get a border, they get that little box shadow, which maybe you can't see super well. I can see it pretty well. And the icon is growing when you hover. And it works on these cards, and it works on these cards. And there's no cards down here. So that's a really quick and easy way to add some custom fancy CSS to all of your cards. So honestly, I think that's it for this video. Because we've pretty much built out the whole landing page minus the header and the footer. But again, I'm not going to be able to show you anything building those that you haven't already seen in this video. But to just kind of recap, some of the things that kind of blew my mind were the auto grid. So again, let's shrink this down to mobile. Everything's already mobile responsive. Look at that. It's beautiful. We got this nice gutter, this content width. I can show you that if we go to probably layout, website dimensions, content width, 1160. That's kind of my go-to. But just to show you, let's go 900. Save that and come refresh. Why are you going to do this to me? Because I don't click save. I'm still getting used to ACSS. FYI, if you're thinking about using ACSS, when you change stuff in ACSS, you have to click save in ACSS. Clicking save down here, that ain't doing it. Since I updated this in ACSS, I have to remember to click save in ACSS. I forget that because I just started using it, but I will get the hang of it. And now my website is more narrow. And we can get really crazy with it just to make it more obvious. Ooh, I almost did it again. And look at that. So you can adjust your content width very easily. Like I said, I like 1160. I think Kevin uses like 1200 something a lot of times. You can change your breakpoints, which don't come into effect very often. One thing that is neat, if you go to auto grid, again, auto grid, not grid auto, Kevin, or whoever names classes in automatic CSS. No, it probably actually makes sense because it's a class that applies to grid. So it probably makes sense to name the class grid. And then, because it's normally grid 2 to get 2 columns. So then grid auto 2. It makes sense. It just gets confused in my head. But anyways, if you're using the auto grid and you're thinking to yourself, ooh, you know, I don't like exactly when it changes automatically from 2 columns to 1. Maybe you're thinking, it changes too early. I want it to get a little smaller before it changes. That's where this aggressiveness comes in. So I have it set to 0.6. The default is 0.7. Let's do like 0.3. That's going to make it less aggressive, which I think should mean that it will not change to 1 column as quickly. Yeah, so look at how far down I can go. It's getting real scrunchy. Eventually, it will go to 1 column. I turned aggressiveness way down, so it took a long time. Now, if I turn it way up, it's going to go down to 1 column pretty quickly. In fact, it's already there on this, even on this big of a screen. It's already, I don't even know if I can get it wide enough to go. Come on. I might have to close a panel. Let's close JavaScript first of all and CSS. Oh, it's already 2 columns. Did I miss that? All right. And then boom, 1 column already. So that's a really aggressive auto grid. So if you were thinking to yourself earlier how to control when it goes into mobile mode, that's how. It's the aggressiveness. So I think, what did I have at 0.6? So I'm going to put it back to that because I liked that. I think that's a pretty good breakpoint. So you don't have to worry about breakpoints. Like these up here, you don't really have to worry about these. These are kind of old school web development strategies. Most of the time you're going to be using container queries instead of media queries anyway, so the breakpoints don't matter. And if you're using auto grid, you'll just use the aggressiveness here. And I don't even know what this other stuff does. I don't know what auto ratio grid is. Again, I'm only scratching the surface here. I don't know what flow option is. Force even columns, that sounds obvious. So you'll never have, you have like a 4 column grid and you want to never have 3 columns. You want it to go from 4 down to 2. You can turn that on, so that's pretty cool. Box layouts, set a max width along the additional visual styling. Okay, yeah, I don't know what a lot of this stuff is. I'm just showing you what I've learned so far. But I will reiterate that probably one of the best things you can do is check this cheat sheet. I used this a lot when I was first building this layout and learning how to do stuff, because it just tells you what the variables are. So if you're like, oh, I need line clamp, how do I do that? Oh, there you go. There's your variables. And you can even just copy it right here. So this is very helpful, and it breaks it up into sections. So here's the border, so you can see what all your border radius variables are, what your rounded is, and there's also links to documentation if you want to read more about these things. We got borders. It's all just amazing. I love it. There's typography. I did a little bit of stuff in here, I think. So you can choose headings, all headings, and you can do stuff that will apply to all your headings. So this is the color I wanted for every single one of my headings. So I put it in base ultra dark. Also, this is where you change the font family. And I don't know how to import a font, a custom font in ACSS, if that's even possible. What I did was I just did it. Well, here's typography. Oh, that's where I just was. I just did it in Gutenberg. So you can go into the editor mode of Gutenberg, go to typography, and first of all, you have all Google fonts available to you, and then you can also upload your own custom fonts. So that's all I did. And then I was able to just come in here, and since I added the enter font, literally just typed enter sans Sarah. So that's my font now for all my headings. And then for text, I think it's the same. Yeah, it's all enter on this layout. And then I changed the default text color, neutral for regular text, this base ultra dark for headings. And this is not something I did. That's automatic. So don't freak out about this. You don't have to do math. This is default. You can tell what stuff is default. If there's a little blue dot, that means you've modified it in some way. So I did not modify any of this stuff. Didn't modify any of this stuff. I mean, most of this stuff is automatic. Why they call it that. You don't have to do a ton. You saw I didn't do a ton over here. I chose my colors that I wanted. And then I added my classes to the card targeting settings. And that's almost all I did in ACSS. Pretty much everything else was automatic. I did change my border radius, I think. Didn't I? Borders? Yeah, I updated my border radius to a different size. There's so much more stuff you can customize if you want. We didn't even talk about smart spacing. Smart spacing's turned on. Just another thing that's automatic. I liked the spacing that I saw, so I just left it alone. But if you can come in here and update all sorts of stuff. There's automatic spacing. Again, those are all turned on. Container gap, content gap. That's why you didn't see me typing like gap a lot. I only did it that one time because I wanted a specific gap. Otherwise, I just used these default settings. It's all just default, man. It's all automatic. Section spacing. You can come in here and fiddle with this stuff if you want to. I didn't because I just liked it. So, like I said, man, if everything you just saw in this video, if that's all automatic CSS was, I think I would still probably pay for it. Because what you saw me do is I just did a lot of very common stuff, right? Every website you build, you're going to have a grid of some sort. You're going to have a 2-column grid like this somewhere. You're going to have 3-column grids. You're going to have 4-column grids. Okay, maybe I don't on this website. I have one 3-column grid. Otherwise, everything else is 2 columns. But this is a very basic landing page. You're going to be building cards, right? I built a lot of cards on this one. This section has cards with the icon. This section has cards with no icon, but it has tags. This section has these differently shaped cards with icons. Building a lot of cards. You're going to be building buttons. You're always going to have buttons. You're going to have border radiuses, right? It's just all these things that you're doing on every single website that you build. Automatic CSS makes it super easy and super fast. So I will probably do more videos in the future as I learn more stuff about automatic CSS. For sure, I'm going to be doing videos, even if it's not an automatic CSS video, you're going to see me using automatic CSS in a lot of my videos. So just get ready for that. I do also have an affiliate link in the description of this video. If you are considering purchasing because you watched this video, I would appreciate, giving that link a little click. It doesn't cost you any extra money, but the automatic CSS team sends me a small portion of that purchase as a thank you for telling people about it. So same thing goes for Etch. I also have an affiliate link for that too. That's enough about my self-promotion. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I really hope you learned something. Please don't be afraid to ask me questions about automatic CSS. I am in their private group as a customer, so if I don't know the answer to your question, I should be able to get the answer to the question pretty easily. And then hopefully you'll be convinced to buy it. And you can jump in our private community and ask all the questions you want in there. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next video.